This is Straight Talk with Atlanta native Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and his sidekick Shanan Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fann, the Preacher Man.
Well, welcome today to Straight Talk with your truly great friend, the Preacher Man. And Shanan, as you can see today, I got my Larry King suspenders on. And,
I see that.
Yeah. And listen to what? I'm drinking some good, what kind of coffee this is?
It's like good coffee.
It look like it's some of that hazelnut or something, you know, cappuccino, that's what it is, cappuccino.
Ah.
Look at, it ain't no Starbucks. It ain't no Starbucks. This is cappuccino.
I see that. Larry King, come on up to the top of the class.
Well, thank you so much for watching today and sharing with us, Shanan and I, right here with Straight Talk. And we ask that you subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to like us. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to make comments. And don't forget to share. And you can always, if you'd like to be a part of the program, we'd love to have you as a part. Go out Straight Talk News 1362 at gmail.com. Well, Shanan and I we're going to have again, as always, Shanan, you know, today I was at the Martin Luther King Day breakfast, this annual breakfast, and there was so many people there, and people were asking and talking about our show and how they watch it, how they view it, and the kind of information we share with them. And so I want to just say to all of those of us, that those of you who, you know, checking us out, the program, hey, continue to like us, continue to subscribe, continue to share, continue to make comments, and listen. You know what I think about Shanan? When I was in radio, and Cynthia and I did a program called A New Look at Gospels TV program, right? And people would see when we go to wherever you would be at, somebody said, "Oh, I hear you on the radio. Oh, I see you on TV." And you know, just knowing that people are watching and people are listening and people are appreciating what we're doing, Shanan, it means so much to Miss C. It means so much to Miss C. Miss C will be on after this. After Shanan and I, we just thank you so much for joining us today. And what we're gonna do, Shanan? You got anything you want to say before I bring on Miss C?
No, man, nothing between you and Miss C. Let me just stay out of it.
Well, we'll be back on the other side after Miss C with her news and information. Miss C.
Hi, Miss C here with your 3-minute news blast, or more or less. Hey, Bishop Greg. Hey, Pastor Shanan. Hope you all are doing well. And if I hadn't said so to you, Happy New Year. Okay, listen, I got a few tidbits of information I want to tell you about today. On Saturday, January 25th at 4 p.m., you're invited to join AM 1480 WYZE Radio and Pastor Ray Neal bringing back Atlanta's Gospel Voice, featuring the Dixie Airs and many other gospel greats. You know, I worked at WYZE for 28 years, and I'm so happy that Pastor Ray Neal is bringing back Atlanta's Gospel Voice. Now, for tickets, information, call 888-433-9993. Bringing back Atlanta's Gospel Voice will be held at Solid Rock Sanctuary Church of God in Christ, 1915 Rock Cut Place in Conley, Georgia. Arnold Ruffin is pastor. You know, our own Bishop Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, he can be heard on the new Gospel Voice, AM 1480 WYZE. They have an internet platform. So look for WYZEI, I think. And that's on Sundays at 6 p.m. Okay? There's going to be a fatherhood conversation sponsored by Manhood Mindset, LLC, presented by Dr. Marion Christopher Pugh on January 22nd, 2025 at 7 p.m. on Zoom. The purpose of this fatherhood conversation is to strengthen the relationships between fathers and their children. Now, this is going to be a Zoom meeting, so you may want to grab a pen and paper And the Zoom meeting ID is 895-9981-1521. And the passcode is 792. ID is 895-9981-1521. And the passcode is 792-2223. If you'd like to speak to Dr. P personally, you can give him a call at 470-622-5462. I have one more little tidbit of information I want to tell you about. The 9th pastoral anniversary celebration of Gabriel I. Adams, who is the overseer and lead pastor of Restoration Church Atlanta, will be held every Sunday in February 2025 at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Restoration Church is located at 4168 Redan Road in Stone Mountain. You can call them for more information at 678-799-6804. And listen, there are 4 things I'd like for you to do before we leave you. I'd like for you to subscribe. I'd like for you to like us. I'd like for you to leave comments. Let us know how we're doing. And 4, I want you to share us. Don't keep Straight Talk News to yourself. Let everybody know about Straight Talk News, because we're here to stay and they need to know about us, okay? And listen, I want to send condolences out to the family of Reverend Harry Cleveland. He was one of the associate pastors at Flipper Temple AME who passed recently. I want to send my condolences out, and I pray God's strength on you and your family. Okay? Now listen, in between now and then, in the meantime and in between time, may the Lord God bless you real good. We'll see you next time, okay? Bye now.
Well, we're back, Shanan and I, we're back, and Big Papa, you know, we got so much going on, Big Papa. We got the fires in California. We got the possibility of a ceasefire in Israel and Gaza. We got all these things that
a Reagan-esque ceasefire.
A Reagan-esque
This
ceasefire.
reminded me very much of January the 20th, 1981.
Okay. 1981. How old was you in 81?
I was 6. And this is reminding me of, I was always a serious child. As the old folks say, I've been here before. And so, you know, I remember Jimmy Carter stayed up all night on his last night and Reagan took it. So this is Trump trying to do a Reagan, okay? On Biden. All right?
So Biden is working the deal, but Trump gonna take the credit.
Yeah, that's what it is. And some people been telling me, they say, well, you know, Trump did this. I said, Trump been in court. He ain't had time to deal with this. This man been fighting from going from judgment hall to judgment hall. He ain't been doing this.
He been trying to keep his tail out of jail. That's what he been trying to do.
Yeah.
And not pay so much money. That's what he been trying to do.
And then get elected. Yeah, he ain't had time. And then after he got elected, you know, he ain't had time. And he working on the transition. You know, people are funny. They got him in office already. He doesn't have a Secretary of State, a State Department, a military to do all this. What do they think, that he and 4 other people that's sitting around working on the transition is also working on a hostage deal? No, that's not happening.
No, they're working on that $90 million they're gonna spend for the inauguration.
Exactly. That's what they're working on.
That's exactly
what they're working on.
That's exactly what they're working on. True that. You know, speaking about the inauguration of I'm gonna call him Donald. Speaking of the operator,
we're gonna call him President Trump. We're gonna call him. We're not gonna be guilty of the ignorance. We already got one talking about when they go low, we go high. But she missed Jimmy Carter's funeral and gonna miss the inauguration, and that's a whole other problem. And Trump missed it, and I don't agree with that. I think it was ignorant and wrong, and I think that we have to continue to go high and represent what we're supposed to represent. The first female, African American First Lady said that we should always go high, and we should, and she should remember that she told us that.
Well, I'm going high too. I'm going high too. I'm gonna take your word, Donald. Well, since Donald is going in the White House, President Donald Trump. I'll put that on it. President Donald Duck. As he's going into the White House, so we're going to inaugurate him, and he's going to be inaugurated, and he's going to be sworn in, and he's going to put his hand on the Bible again. And he's going to make all these declarations of what he ain't going to do. But he's going to put his hand on the Bible and swear to his God, not to the God, but to his God, that he will uphold the Constitution of the United States and defend terrorists, both domestic and foreign. And he would make sure that he would take care of the life and the liberty of the citizens of the United States of America. But already he's trying to take over Canada and the Panama Canal and all the things that he wants to do. And he wants to send immigrants back home and use the military to send them back home. And what are we going to do if we go to war, if the military people are sending immigrants back home? Boy.
Well, the first thing is just not being xenophobic. But as I look at the people that are in the agricultural industry, and the people that take care of the greenery and green space around the White House. First of all, if he did all the stuff that he said that he was going to do, then the White House might look a little different. The White House might look like the jailhouse, because you won't have somebody there to be able to do all the things that they do, because those are largely immigrants that work in those spaces and do that. But before that, I mean, just talk about the food supply and all of that. But you know what? I want to just pause for a moment.
Do pause.
As we go into January the 20th. This is the weekend leading into the 47th president's administration. This 47th president was the 45th president. And he has no other terms. There's no 48 or 49 for him. And, folks say, well, they're going to.
Are you sure about that?
I'm absolutely sure about it, because they're not going to change. My father made me deal with the boogeyman a long time ago. And Trump, his bark don't have no bite. Okay, when it comes to me, and I do not think that this government will become a part of the Trump organization. I think a lot of what has been said is, to me, as crazy as Canada becoming the 51st state and Greenland becoming ours, and we're taking it by military. The reality of this is that from the moment that Donald Trump puts his hand on the Bible on January the 20th, the Republican Party is going to be looking for their next leader. 2 years after, 24 months after he puts his hands on that Bible, there will be an election day that will let us know who's in control of the legislative agenda. He will be, at that point, even more lame duck. And so a lot of the stuff that they say that he's going to be able to do, he's not going to be able to do. A lot of it sounds a lot like Project 2025. And unfortunately, he will not be able to do it. Now, the question is will J.D. Vance be able to do it? And instead of belly aching, instead of continuing to have, not you, but I'm just saying, far too many in the Democratic Party are belly aching about what happened, accept the loss. Okay? It's like any team, you lost. Accept the loss, and then see what you go back and look at.
Wait a minute. Are you trying to throw something off on me about my Steelers? I accepted that loss. I accepted the loss.
Yeah,
I accept the loss.
Accept the loss.
Yeah,
Go back and look at the film. Go back and look at the film.
Yeah.
Okay, look at the tape, and then come back, put a strategy together, change your coaching staff, change your consulting staff, change some of your players, okay, and come back at it again. And that's what the party needs to be looking at. I would much rather be looking at a J.D. Vance than I would be afraid of a Donald Trump. And I wouldn't fear any of them, because I wouldn't be focusing so much on being reactionary to them, Bishop, I would be proactive with an agenda that goes after the core, the center of America, and grabs from the center of America to whatever side that they have, and to reach over to the other side and bring some of them with you. I was talking to someone yesterday, and I'm going to give it to you after this. I was talking to someone yesterday, and we were talking about, well, what are the things that the party needs to do? And someone said, well, you know, the first thing is we've got to deal with Social Security. I said, no, first and foremost, I think we need to, this is something that we need to look at within the Democrat. Well, let's look at national security. Let's begin a conversation talking about securing the country, the borders, defense. Start having a conversation about that. Okay? It doesn't mean that all of the other issues are not as important, but it begins to show the other side that no, we're not a bunch of, these ain't just a bunch of peacenik liberals over here on the side. We care about much of the same thing that you care about. Okay? And we prioritize things perhaps a little differently, but defense is something that the Democratic Party cares about. So faith is something that the Democratic Party cares about. And I think that we should not allow the other side to own all of the space that they've been able to, the geography, the political geography that they've been able to take. You need to take some of that back, and you have to reorganize what those points are, those leading points, those leading 10 points or 20 points. You need to reorganize that to let the other side know, oh, that's something that's important to them too. Oh, they don't agree with that. They don't all agree with that either.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you in terms of the strategy. And that's what Deborah Scott was talking about today, is that let's rest now, take a breath. Let's come back and let's strategize. Let's strategize on what and how we're going to build a movement in terms of both faith, labor, and community. Community, labor, faith. Let's strategize, because we can't be locked to, and some people might not agree with me, but I know you do. But some people got to understand that we can't be locked to any one party or any one group of individuals in a party, because you know, I'm hearing stuff about people talking about, well, Ossoff is not good for us. He's not good for us. But one thing that Ossoff has proven is that he has delivered for Georgia, and he has been able to cross the aisles to get things done in the justice system and some other things, how people are being mistreated in prisons and stuff like that. But he's been able to do things by crossing the aisle, because those things that bothered him bothered some of his Republican colleagues. And he was able to broker a coalition between himself as a Democrat and the Republicans who are Republicans, because everybody up there is not heartless. Everybody's not on the same page for everything. We not agree on everything, but well, we can agree and we find commonality, then we move on to commonality. But that's the strategy, and that's what you're talking about, because we move back to the thing of Johnny Eisen. Johnny Eisen, who was a Republican, and Johnny Eisen worked with the Democrats, and he got upset when Republicans were talking about they were not going to work with Democrats. He said, heck with that. I'm working with whoever I can work with, who we have commonality on these issues.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Versus what aisle you on, what aisle you sit in.
That's right.
It doesn't make any difference. This is what's good for America.
That's right.
Healthcare is good for America. Education is good for America. You know, these things are good for citizens. People being able to have a place to stay is good for American citizens. And these are things that they all ought to be concerned about. But how we get there is, well, you may go this way, I may go that way, but as long as we can come, and Michael Thurman said, as long as we can come in the middle and agree on how we're going to get to that middle at common ground and be able to move an agenda that's going to better serve all the people and not
That's right.
some of the people. So yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with you, but that's a strategy that has to be developed because people got to stop taking sides based on parties, based on race, based on all these other things. It's got to be those things that are in common for the greater good of mankind.
And being so dogmatic about it. I mean, being so stuck in your ways. The road to higher ground is common ground. That you'll never get to common ground. Higher ground without common ground. They say if you see a turtle sitting on a tree stump, you know somebody put it there. Okay, so the road to be able to get higher is to be able to build bridges and to have a ladder that helps you to be able to climb. And there's two sides to a ladder. A one-sided ladder with steps on it, but only one side is a dangerous ladder to be on. But if we can find common ground, then we can build a ladder that we all can be able to climb upon, and that is something that I think that we need to deal with. The other thing is that the Democratic Party has to understand that the African American community in this election showed you that it's trending towards a bipartisan view. Latinos are showing that they are trending towards a bipartisan view. White women are showing that they are trending towards a bipartisan view. And within the African American community, black men and some black women, more so than in the last elections, moving towards focusing on bipartisan views. So why would you have a party that's so stuck in that it wants to be reactionary and just look at everything that comes out and fight the other side? Why would we not look at what your base is saying and look like your base? It's something to be a leader of something and you're leading something and your followers aren't with you. And I think that that's going to continue to. So common ground is what Michael Thurman talked today about food, about people eating. Hunger is a common ground issue. We talked about defense. That's a common ground issue. Okay. Taking care of the elderly is a common ground issue. Even issues around many of the social issues that we deal with, we can find common ground on that. And I think that we need to do. Now, there are going to be some things that we absolutely are going to just not agree with, and that's okay. Okay? It doesn't have to be, but we can build on the things that we can find in common, find the commonality, and be able to move from there.
I think what the bigger problem is, we leave the table when we find things that we disagree on, that we leave the table, as opposed to staying at the table and finding those things that we can agree upon. Because I think many marriages and relationships have lasted long. Relationships and marriages have lasted based on the things that the husband and wife have in common, not the things they don't have in common. Because there are many things that, if you're married and you've been married a long time, there are many things you don't have in common, but you stay in the marriage because of the things you do have in common. You don't leave the marriage because you say, well, we don't have this in common, we don't have that in common. Well, we weigh what we have in common and we stay at the table on the commonality and not that we don't. And, I always, when I counsel people about getting married, and I weigh the dislikes and the likes that you like about a person and you dislike about a person. If there are more dislikes than there are likes, then perhaps you shouldn't be getting married, right? Because there's no real commonality there. The real common denominator for us is because we believe in Jesus, right? No matter what church you're in, what denomination you may be in the church, it is really we believe in Jesus Christ. That's our common denominator, is I believe in Jesus Christ, or even the period, religion period, we believe in a higher power, right? We do, but that's our commonality. We believe in a higher power. So, but we come together with that belief, and that's how we can work together, because we believe in Jesus Christ. Now, there are issues we don't agree on, and we know it, same-sex marriage, and other things we don't agree on. But the reality of it but we still come together on the things we do agree on. We don't leave the table because we don't disagree on that. because because first of all, we're not the judge. God is the judge, and God is the jury. He said, "Let the wheat
And
and the chaff
I
grow
think that's
together, and
very
they're
Christo.
separated." Go on, go on, go
I'm
on, go
sorry,
on.
and I
No, no,
think
no,
that's
no.
Christo. I think that's Christocentric too. Is that, you know, I preached. Well, I preached. I taught Bible study yesterday, and this year the Gathering Church is focused on the manifestation of God's purpose through our lives, right? And through our lives and for our lives. And we are beginning by looking at certain works like Rick Warren's The Purpose Driven Life, Purpose Driven Church, and other books and whatnot, materials on purpose. And, you know, Rick Warren says something that makes a great deal of sense when you look at it, is that you can be successful in something and still miss your purpose. I mean, that you can be successful. I told my congregation yesterday, because they wrestled with that, because they see, well, if you're successful and you're prosperous, then you're in your purpose. I say, well, I don't know. I don't know. Let me talk about Escobar, the biggest drug dealer in the world, Pablo Escobar. He was successful, very successful. But I can't say that Pablo Escobar was living God's purpose for his life. And the thing is that we don't have the opportunity in our self-centeredness to decide what our purpose is. That's been predestined for us by the one that brought us into existence in the time and in the space that he's brought us into the world. So then you're not going to find your purpose if you're first not searching for it. But secondly, if you're not talking to, we talk about this commonality, we talk about if you're not talking to the manufacturer that created the product in the first place. So speak not to the invention about what it is. Check with the inventor and find out from the inventor what is the purpose of the invention. What is the purpose, the raison d'etre? What is the reason for being? And there have been things that we've been successful at that ain't necessarily our purpose. And I think that we're coming to a time and a space and a place in life where people, parties, organizations, companies, whatever, need to begin to start focusing on what is my purpose? What is my purpose? Why do I have the gift that I have? And what is that gift for?
You know,
And you got to talk to the gift giver about the gift.
I'm not gonna cut you off. If you have something
No,
you
that's
say
fine.
that, okay. You know, one thing that you said is when you're talking about, when you said about purpose, and you talk about, you know, people just thinking that they're living their purpose now because they're successful because they have things and what have you. I'm often reminded of when you get instructions to do something, and you take those instructions and you move them to the side, and you say, "Oh, I can do this. I know how to do this," and you begin to do it, and you may be successful in getting it done, right? But you didn't read all of the instructions. That's something you may have left out. So the reason I'm saying this is because just because you're successful in doing it, it doesn't mean that you have really fulfilled the true purpose of what it is to be. It looks like it, and it looks like it. And I give an example. You know, there are many people who want to be leaders. There are many people who want to step out. There are many people who want to do various things. They want to do podcasts. They want to do this. They want to do that, and this, and there may be some success in it. They may get viewers. Like you see that with the TikTokers, people ticking and talking and TikToking for views and hoping that they can get more money and all like that. So they feel they're successful because they got X amount of views, they got X amount of that. But have you really read what it is, the instruction as to what you really need to be doing, your purpose, not your success, but your purpose.
That's
Many,
right.
many are called, but only a few are
You were
chosen.
told. Yep.
Only a few are
Yep.
chosen. So
Yep.
yes, you know, and I'm speaking now. I'm speaking from the standpoint of seeing so many people running out trying to do this and doing that and doing this and copying
Yeah.
what somebody else is doing and saying they can do it too because they have the understanding, they have the skills, they have what it takes to do it, maybe even the money to do it, and become successful. But they only mimicking what somebody else has done and not really understanding the true purpose or the true struggle as to how a person got there, what they had to do to get there. Understanding that. Too many people jumping out here saying, well, they did it, I can do it. Well, but you don't know the struggles. You don't know the ins and the outs. You haven't read the instructions. You only
No.
looking at the picture. You're only looking at the picture. You put it together based on what the picture looked like, but you don't know because you didn't follow what? The instructions.
The instruction. And I didn't get the purpose. And when you know the difference between success and purpose, right? I'm glad I don't know how we got into this, but
Sure. That's fine.
you know that the joy because purpose feels good. And when I say feels good, I'm not speaking of an emotional feeling. It's like I'm in my call. I'm in the right place. You know, it's like we talked about Jimmy Carter, right?
Right.
And Jimmy Carter finally got out of planes. He became a nuclear physicist. He graduates from the Naval Academy. The admiral puts him on his staff. He's top tier. His wife Rosalind is so happy. His father dies. He goes back to planes, and Rosalind almost didn't unpack because she's ready to get back to this life. Think about it. A girl born in Plains, Georgia. Now we are in Maryland and going to DC and getting ready to perhaps travel all over the world and see the world. And Jimmy Carter goes back, and when he's there, something in him tells him that he's supposed to stay in Plains. And so he doesn't go back to his naval career. His wife is so angry with him that when they went to get their stuff and moved back to Plains, she didn't speak to him the whole ride from Maryland to Plains, Georgia. That's how angry Rosalind Carter was with him. God said to him, Jimmy, I know that you are a nuclear physicist, but I want you to be a peanut farmer. From a nuclear physicist to a peanut farmer. And he's obedient. There's something in him that feels that my purpose is needed here. And he goes back to peanut farming. And while he's there, some political things happen that causes him to run for Senate. And then God gave him an unction to run for governor. And then God gave him an unction to run for president. Now he left, and he probably would have been a great admiral, but he left there to go be a peanut farmer, and God sent him back as the commander-in-chief of the United States military. So God has a way of doing it. When you're in your purpose, man, you know this. I used to be a Michael Jackson fan, and I like to wear the glove and the high pants and the loafers. But you know, in the summertime, it got real hot walking around with a leather jacket on and high water pants and a glove on. And I started to really research this and found out Michael wore a glove because he had an issue called vitiligo. And so he wore the glove for a purpose. The glove was a purpose glove. It wasn't a successful vanity thing. It had a purpose to hide his hand, the world, from seeing the changing of colors that was happening on his hand. And I'm sitting up here trying to dress like him, be like him. And guess what? I ended up having to take that stuff off because that was not my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And you never look good trying to follow someone else's success or someone else's purpose, not knowing that God has a purpose for you.
You know, with that being said, as we get ready to celebrate the birthday for Dr. Martin Luther King, and certainly his purpose, he lived out his purpose. He could have lived a life where he didn't have to struggle. He could have been just a preacher preaching to people and converting them to Jesus Christ. And every Sunday morning, he could have drove a big car, lived a great, fabulous life where people feel that he's successful because he got all of these things. But his purpose was to do what he did. His purpose was to stand up for the least, the less, the lost, and the left out. And I truly believe that he got joy in doing that. Because the reason I say it, Shanan, is if someone call you and tell you on the phone, boy, you better not come back to Memphis. If you come back to Memphis, we're going to kill you. We're going to kill you, boy. If you come back here, we're going to kill you. Remember Emmett Till, what we did to Emmett Till. Remember what we did with others, Mega Evans. Remember what we did to them. Yeah, remember, boy, if you come back to Memphis, we're going to kill you. Now, I talk about Mississippi, Mega Evans, and I talked about Emmett Till, because whether you know it or not, Mississippi is right at the borderline of Memphis, okay? So if you come back, boy, we're going to kill you. That was the message. But his purpose was to stand up for the least, the less, the lost, and left out. He got on that plane and left Atlanta, Georgia, going to Memphis, Tennessee, left his wife, left his children, left his mother and his father and everything. It's about like Abraham. He left his father's country to go off into a land that God was going to show him. He got on that plane with his comrades, with those that would go with him, and those who were saying to him, they said, you don't need to do it. They're talking about killing you, Doc. Doc, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it, Doc. But it was something inside of him, his purpose. Something inside of him got him on that plane. Something inside of him caused him to be able to stand up for the sanitation workers who were being mistreated. And people forget about that. He gave up his life for working people. He gave his life for the least, the less, the lost, because a gentleman had been killed sleeping in the back of the hopper of the garbage truck. He had been killed, and the sanitation workers said, we can't take it no more, because they would not let them sleep in the barn when it was raining. They had to sleep out there in that hopper of the truck. And somehow or another, the level went up, and the man was taken up in there and was killed. But he went there fighting for sanitation workers, not just for sanitation workers, but for people to be able to work and have a decent wage and be treated fairly in the workplace. Not just for black folk, but for people, period. Because that was his purpose. That was his purpose. And he lived out and he died living his purpose. And then we have one great example. His name was Jesus Christ, who lived out his purpose. His purpose was to come into the world to take all the humiliation and take all the criticism and everything else for us, to die for our sin, that we might have eternal life. So the question today is, are you, as you said, Shanan, are you living out your purpose? We're going to celebrate Dr. King's birthday tomorrow. And people are going to be doing this and they're going to be doing that in honor of Dr. King and celebrating him. And then we have this situation that happened today to a young man who was sleeping in a tent, that was laying in his tent. No doubt that tent was donated to him by some organization so he could stay in the warmth, but laying in that tent, Shanan. And then on Old Wheat Street, on the other side of Auburn Avenue, where Ebenezer Church is, and Wheat Street Baptist Church, those historical churches, he was killed.
His name was Cornelius Taylor, and he was sleeping in a tent, and the officials that went in to clear or sweep out the campsite did not bother to check all of the tents and bulldozed over him and crushed and killed him. Bulldozed him to move out this homeless encampment so that it could perhaps prepare for the festivities of celebrating the life of Martin Luther King Jr., the martyr who died, as you just said, standing up for a garbage worker and workers. One worker was killed and many others who were economically being assassinated. And he went there to stand for them. It did not matter that he was a graduate of Morehouse College with honors at the age of 15 years old. It did not matter for 16 years old. It did not matter that he had graduated with his theological degree from Crozer. It didn't matter that he was a Boston University PhD, the leader of SCLC, perhaps the preeminent voice, Nobel Peace Prize winner. None of that mattered. What mattered for him is that his purpose was to serve a man that was born in a manger, who came into the world to live and to die for the marginalized as well as the rich, for male as well as for female, for all the nations of the world he came into the world to die. The Prince of Peace. And Dr. King, being an ambassador of the Prince of Peace, gave his life for that matter. So it's interesting that in his name, we would be on this weekend talking about a Cornelius Taylor and the Cornelius Taylors of this world and of this city. And so I say shame on Atlanta for this. And I say that we need to find a dignified way forward, and that we should not trample over the poor. And we really have to ask ourselves the question, do the unhoused, the homeless, are they residents of Atlanta also? Which means that I understand the look of having sheets and clothes and paraphernalia on the streets. Yes, we can have clean streets, but we should also make sure that the unhoused are housed. And if we can focus on all the other stuff that we focus on, the greatest tribute to Dr. King, the greatest tribute that you can give to that man whose face was blown off at 39 years old, is to continue to do what he gave his life for, to continue to walk in this Christocentric love that is without parallel, and that is that is also without demand. It is an authentic love that puts no demand on it. I don't do this so you can do that. It's an agape love. It's an agape love. It's a love that is unconditional, and it is free, and it is from God. That is the greatest purpose of all of us Catholic, all of us universal, all of us collective. That is the greatest purpose, is to walk in love. So we should remember the name and pray for the family of Cornelius Taylor, and pray for his life as he slept in these cold temperatures outside. The least that we could have done, Atlanta, was woke him up instead of run him over.
Well, my friend, thank you so much for telling us that story of Brother Taylor about our purpose life, purpose-driven life. What is your purpose? What is your purpose? Are you trying to be a celebrity? Are you trying to be a star? But are you living out the true credence of what Jesus said? He said, love you one another, that I have loved you. He said, that's my commandment, that you love you one another as I have loved you. And that you look out for the least, the less, the lost, and the left out. Well, we here at Straight Talk, we thank you so much for joining us, Shannon and myself, each and every week. And do share with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel here, YouTube channel, and like us, subscribe, make comments, and share. You would like to be on the program, we'd love to have you. It was Straight Talk News 1362@gmail.com. That's all you got to do is email us with that. We'll be talking more about what's going on around Atlanta, around the world. Keep the family members in California. Please, let's keep them in prayer, and let's keep Brother Taylor family in prayer. And for the young man who's missing, up in Gwinnett County, let's pray for his mother and his family as they are seeking their son who is lost, and pray that nothing has really happened to him. But we know God's will be done. Until next week, This ain't been nothing but straight talk with yours to the great fan of Preacher Man and Shannon E. Jones. Shannon, this ain't nothing but what? Straight talk. Hey, take us out of here, Hal.
Want to be a guest on Straight Talk? Email Craig Fann at FANN922@comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shannon Jones and Greg Fann, the Preacher Man.